Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
With Tech to the VO stars. George Whittam, founder of Source Elements. Robert Marshall, international audio engineer. Darren Robbo Robertson, and global voice. Andrew Peters, thanks to TriBooth. Austrian audio, making passion heard. Source Elements. George the Tech Whittam. And Robbo and AP's international demos. To find out more about us, check theproaudiosuite.com.
Line up, ladies!
Here we go.
And welcome to another Pro Audio Suite. Thanks to TriBooth. Don't forget the code TRIPAP200 to get $200 off your plosive. Sorry about that. And Austrian Audio, making plosives heard.
Well, they sure can pick up a plosive.
The best plosives in the business. That's
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Making plosives heard.
Now, George, you've been out bench testing with a couple of techie dudes with our PASport VO.
So which bench was the best?
Yeah, I was. So I've been circulating back and forth to a repair shop here in Los Angeles called Audio Rehab, and my friends Greg and Scott. Greg owns the shop. Scott's one of the techs over there. Scott's like the Avalon guy. So like every single Avalon that needs to be serviced, benched, restored, whatever it is, he's the guy. So I've had a few over there getting service for a few folks. And I was like, hey, what do you do when you want to bench something to figure out the quality of, or the noise or the distortion, et cetera? What's the procedure? Well, what we did manage to pull off with the cables and adapters that we did have was that we did get to measure essentially the self noise of the mic preamps in the PASport VO. And I do have a video that I shot while I was at the shop of us doing that. And they were impressed.
Really? These are the Jasmine preamps, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so the
Jasmine,
preamps are the CEntrance Jasmine pre, which is their own proprietary design. And they metered at minus 89 dB self noise.
Wow.
Or if that's the right terminology. Is that the terminology? Self noise? How when you measure the noise level of a preamp, what is the criteria?
Wouldn't it be self noise? Because that's the noise that it's creating itself, right?
Technically. Right, exactly. And it was about minus 89 to minus 90. And I don't know how that stacks up because I don't have a list of other, portable or, audio interfaces to stack that up against.
But it's pretty damn low, regardless.
Yeah, it's pretty damn low. Minus 90 is far lower than you're ever going to hear by the ear.
Absolutely.
It's far lower than any recording environment you're going to record in unless you're doing measurements in a lab,
Mm-hmm.
And so really the self-noise of the product is essentially negligible. There's just no self-noise that you can hear. So it was kind of neat and it was neat seeing that on a bench, in a shop where these guys calibrate, test, and tune $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, even more $1,000 pre's and channel strips all day long. It was really cool to see.
So how is that tested? Do you open the mic pre all the way up to see the self noise, or like?
No, he didn't. And that's the part I don't really know how to understand. And the test, frankly, is not just testing the preamp, it's also testing the headphone amp. And the reason is because you have to get an analog signal out of the PASport. And you cannot get an analog signal out of the PASport unless it passes through the headphone amp.
Right.
There's no line outputs on a PASport VO. And it's funny because
there's the speaker outputs.
Yes, but they do not pass the input. Remember? They do not pass the input.
Yeah.
We plugged everything in and they're like, we got nothing. And I was like, yeah, that's by design.
Right.
There's no.
Oh, yeah, that's by design.
They're like, what? Oh. So, it's a unique product in that way. So, yeah, head slap. So the only way they could measure the true signal to noise ratio of the preamp circuit was to essentially also measure the signal to noise ratio of the headphone circuit.
That's even better.
Yeah, so you're actually measuring
those are
both.
two amplifiers. Yeah.
That's right. So when you add together the preamp and the headphone and meter them together in concert, and again, the headphones aren't balanced, right? you're getting minus 89. I mean, that's why when you plug a mic in and you plug in your cans, it always shocks you how clean it is. It really always does surprise me. This thing is clean. And that's why. It really is. The circuitry is fantastic. And they were impressed, and they were also impressed by the size. They thought the build quality was really excellent. And another thing that was really encouraging was I asked them, I said, this thing, of course, because of its miniaturization, it's all surface mount, right? And I was like, is that repairable? And then the guy shows me on his bench a piece of gear he's repairing. It was a 500 rack. It was a Claiborne, or what's that? Starts with a Cranborne?
Craneborn or something.
Cranborne, I think. 500 series rack, and it had a surface mount component thing. And he was servicing it. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, you got to have a steady hand and a big magnifying glass. But we service, we service all those surface mount stuff. So that made me really encouraged to know that if this thing ever needed servicing, it's always going to be serviceable, replaceable.
But some of it.
Parts.
But when you look at that USB chip, all the pins for it are under the chip. And Michael was saying that you need some heavy duty equipment to unsolder that USB chip off the board, because the pins don't go off the side. They're like underneath it. You can't get to the pins to
kind of like an IC, like an IC.
Well, it's a lot like a CPU. Or
CPU.
Yeah.
Right. And that design is making it harder to service things. There's no doubt about it.
But that's how they squeeze more crap in less space, because there's no legs going out.
Right. It's not a chip with legs like a spider sticking out in all directions. It's just all underneath. And there's no socket. Right. It's not socketed. So
right. Yeah. Michael, I guess maybe he could have put a socket on it, but, and actually, so some of the reject units, he was telling me, basically the reason why they're rejected is because cold solder joints on those USB chips, and they're the clocking and stuff super sensitive. Like if
that's one of the most challenging, sensitive components of the whole product, huh? Mm-hmm. Is those chips, and they're the reason we're delayed on getting another.
That's right. I was going to say that was a pain in the ass to begin with.
USB chips went out of production. Right. So we're learning very hard about building product from small batch, small run, component suppliers. When a company like Focusrite does it, they probably buy 100,000 at a time.
Yeah, or maybe the chip fab is like, oh, you want another 100,000? Okay, we'll go roll out that fab again. But we'd like another 200. And they're like, go away.
Yeah, if you're only ordering 200, even in the case of CEntrance, maybe 1,000 of those chips at a time. Those are small numbers, right? And if for these chip manufacturers, if a company decides that the demand for that chip is no longer there, and they stop making it, and all of a sudden you need 1,000 more, well, sorry.
Well, and I think they make a chip, and they're like, okay, this is a great chip. It's going to last. Like I believe, and maybe we want to cut this off, but I believe that chip is like a 2016, 2017 chip we're using. Mm-hmm. It's not. And so the company that made them probably rolled out like 10, 20,000 of them or more, and they sold them throughout the years. And we're sitting here on the end run of what's available from them. And,
right.
And they're not motivated because they've made a new design.
Yeah, when you source a chip and it has a long life, then that's usually a good sign, because that means it's stable, it's reliable, it's something that people have been using, and they haven't had a need to upgrade it. So the last thing you expect for it to do is just go out of production.
Yeah, it's like, I'd like my Pentium 4 chip to be replaced, please. Not
that old. Come on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so it was really cool. So if you want a PASport VO right now, they are hard to come by. There are a few folks I know that might be, if you twist their arm hard enough, be willing to let theirs go. So let us know if you really, really, really want one bad. But better is actually email CEntrance directly. And say,
hassle them.
We really want one.
Please.
We like, basically what has to happen is,
pressure.
We have to prove Michael wrong.
Piles it up, or we get enough, but we have to basically assemble another order. They're not, no one's got the funds to run a huge batch of them to stock them up. And then, so no one wants to run a batch without knowing that the whole batch is sold. And I think what's going to happen is like, if there's going to be another run out there, we're going to have to just do another campaign. Let's find the next 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what they have
news to come.
Let's see how the thing it picks up, in terms of real world users and what people are saying and how it's changed their lives. When people buy these products, it's usually not because they needed it today. It's because they needed it 2 years ago, right? And so when they get it, they've probably had to source something in its stead. And so now they're getting them and they're finally getting to put them into place and they're deciding, is this better than what I already have? Oh my God, it is. Or how do I make this adapt into my workflow, et cetera? Right now I have a studio in North Carolina or South Carolina, Greenville. And, she's learning how to get this working in her booth where, it's going to be on a 30-foot long USB cable, right?
Wow.
And so that all has to be tested. And
is it one of those optical ones that you're using?
I recommended that cable to her. So, it's a beta test. It's not like we have 25 people all using the same setup, right? So she's going to get that cable, run it into the booth. She has to get the right adapters to go from the thing to the thing and blah, blah, blah. If you're not a geek, it's a lot to understand.
Daunting.
You need all these other,
absolutely.
You need all these different little adapters and cables and such. I even had her get a dedicated volume knob that she puts on her desk just for her speakers, right? Because the PASport's inside the booth. So that's all happening.
So are you using the auxiliary out in the speaker mode for that desk? Or are you?
No, we're running we're running mic cables from the booth all the way back to her desk. The mic cables are plugged into the XLR to mini TRS adapters, right? to the monitor outputs, right? So we're running the proper balanced outs of the PASport down a pair of mic cables to the desk. Those are plugged into I think it's called a knob sound, passive volume knob. And then that goes XLR in and it has XLR out. That's cool too because it has RCA and XLR out. So it has a built-in impedance matched input and output.
Deal.
Yeah, so you can plug it into 2 sets of monitors or whatever. And
then you just floor the monitor knob, the speaker knob on the PASport. You just floor it, right?
Right, and then the knob sound is an attenuator. It just takes down the volume exactly. So that's where we're going to get set up in her place, and looking forward to hearing how it turns out and what she says about it. So we'll report back.
Let's see how we go.
Beautiful. And don't forget, harass Michael at CEntrance if you want a passport. Just send an email. So
harass him.
Where's my passport?
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to TriBooth and Austrian Audio. Recorded using Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Robbo. Got your own audio issues? Just ask Robbo.com. With tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, proaudiosuite.com.